Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. For a politician to use a publicly funded ministerial car for government business is, of course, absolutely fine. That is what they're there for. However, to use them for personal reasons, say going to and returning from a private party, is clearly wrong. It is a misuse of public funds. They should use taxis, or they should use public transport, or they should take their own car. They should not be using ministerial cars for their own jollies. And yet, that, of course, is exactly what has happened when a dozen or so SNP MPs used the ministerial cars to ferry them back and forth to Nicola Sturgeon's leaving party. A personal matter, not a governmental matter. They should be forced to repay the costs, including the driver, of this, expense at the public purse for a private matter. It is absolutely the wrong thing to do. They should not have used these cars for that. Anyway, we'll have a look at this, see who these people were and why they did it. Here goes. So, dirty dozen SNP ministers used taxpayer-funded limos to ferry them home from Nicola Sturgeon's lavish leaving do. This was a private do, of course. This wasn't government business. This was a knees up for very sad people. So the former First Minister held a joint leaving do with John Swinney at the Gilly-Doo pub in Edinburgh back in March, which was attended by her closest allies. But no friends, of course. She doesn't have friends. A dozen prominent SNP ministers, including the First Minister, Humza Yousaf, used taxpayer-funded ministerial cars to drive them home, drunk, after attending Nicola Sturgeon's leaving do in a move described as an abuse of public funds by critics. Now, here's the thing. Humza goes on about being a good Muslim, so presumably he was stone cold sober. He wouldn't have taken any alcohol, so why did he need a car? It wasn't as though he was incapable of driving. And as for the others, there's taxis available, there's buses. What's wrong with that? You can get a friend to pick you up, no problem. Why governmental cars at public expense? Plus the cost of the chauffeurs. There's a fair bit of wage as well. Anyway, the former nationalist leader held a huge party at the Gilly-Doo pub in Edinburgh on March the 23rd to mark her officially leaving her role. It was reported to be for the SNP elite and was attended by her husband Peter Murrell following his resignation as chief executive. This elite, the SS, if you like, of the SNP, the SSMP indeed. Anyway, it's now been revealed that 12 of the attendees who were government ministers were taken back to their homes by chauffeur ministerial vehicles. This is despite them not being an official government business and instead being at a night out for their departing colleague. Find out the cost of this and hand them the bill and tell them that is what they have to pay. That's it. How is this being allowed? Who knows? Records published online show that SNP ministers, including Mr Yousaf and his Deputy First Minister, Shona Robertson, were driven to a private address following the boozy knees up. Well, it can't have been a boozy knees up for Humza Yousaf unless he's no longer a Muslim. Who knows? The other dirty dozen were current Health Secretary Michael Matheson, Equalities Chief Christina McKelvey, and her husband Deputy SNP leader Keith Brown, Drugs Minister Elena Whittam, Claire Hockey, Wellbeing Secretary Neil Gray, Net Zero Secretary Mary McCallan, Finance Chief Tom Arthur, Justice Secretary Angela Constance, and key Sturgeon ally John Swinney, of which more soon, I hope. The Gilly-Doo is a pub in central Edinburgh and played host to 100 of Miss Sturgeon's key allies who enjoyed some drinks. It was a joint leaving do for her and Mr Swinney after they took part in their final First Minister's questions, where they successfully answered 0 questions whatsoever. During the party, Mr Swinney made a speech where he praised Miss Sturgeon before she gave a reported mini stand-up routine to an audience of SNP politicians, advisers and staff. National Clinical Director Jason Leach also attended. Who cares who attended? We want to know who paid. If this was at public expense, they need to be billed. This was not government business. Now, as I say, it's not a big thing on its own, but it is kind of indicative of what they do, what the SNP are like. They just treat Scotland's money as their own money. That's the trouble. They're so arrogant about it. They don't think of the optics, really. They don't think that people work hard to pay taxes so that these parasites can go and enjoy their jollies. Anyway, it is not known whether she used her ministerial car to take her and husband, Mr. Murrell, back to their home on the outskirts of Glasgow, as her travel records are not released on safety grounds. I can understand not releasing travel movements in advance, but there's no reason now. What are the safety grounds now for letting us know that an ex-politician once travelled somewhere? There's no reason. The fact that they're not released on, quote, safety grounds is more they're not released on political grounds, because the fact that if people knew exactly where she went, where she travelled, all over the place at public expense, it would be horrendously high cost, I think. And that is why they're not releasing it. They're claiming safety grounds, but there is no reason after the event. It's not. It's all to do with the fact that she has so deeply misused ministerial cars for personal business throughout her entire tenure. Tory MSP for Glasgow, Annie Wells, said, "The public who are grappling with the cost of living crisis will find this widespread use of the ministerial car fleet by senior SNP figures deeply inappropriate. Ministerial cars serve a purpose for official business, but they shouldn't be used to ferry home a dozen nationalists after a night out in the capital. They shouldn't be abusing this privilege at the taxpayers' expense, and there is simply no justification for this waste of resources." And of course there is questions about whether the use of these vehicles have broken any ministerial code, of course. There's very strict rules on use like this, and the ministers have to sign up to these codes. So perhaps, and it was something I mentioned yesterday, and I can't remember the words, but it was something like they have to use the most cheapest and cost-effective, or most efficient and cost-effective method of travel. Well, this wasn't either the most effective or the cheapest form of travel to get home, was it? So it does seem it breaches the code, I think, and for that alone, that should elicit a response anyway, and they should be forced to pay. Anyway, I shall round off here. I shall come up and we shall finish the video. Now, this obviously wasn't governmental business, which is the only reason those cars should be used. This was quite clearly a party event, quite literally, both political and a jolly party event. It should not have used governmental cars. It's quite clear. So I do hope that is investigated, that it is found to have broached the ministerial code of conduct, and that the bills will be handed out swiftly to all those concerned. Absolutely. I mean, that's going to come to quite a bit, I'd imagine. The journey, the cost of the driver's time, and so on and so forth. So maybe an average of £100 each, I think, would be sufficient. Not overly punishing, but as a little reminder that official cars are official business. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you see here on the channel, do please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. If you like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, use your own car. Bye.